Welcome to the Honoring My Temple podcast. If you're looking to put God at the center of your life and live that out practically through your health, habits, and everyday choices, this podcast is for you. I'm Kelly Wenner, founder of Soul Strength Fit and author of Honoring My Temple. Here we explore biblical wisdom and how to apply it to real life, your mindset, food, exercise, and the habits that shape who you're becoming. Let's get started. Small, faithful steps matter, not because they earn God's love, but because they reflect how we steward what He's entrusted to us. One of the clearest places Jesus teaches this is in the parable of the talents. Jesus tells the story of a master who goes on a journey and entrusts his wealth to his servants. To one servant, he gives 5 bags of gold, to another 2, and to another just 1, each according to their ability. The first 2 servants immediately put what they've been given to work, and both see it grow. But the third servant, out of fear, goes and hides what he's been given, doing nothing with it at all. When the master returns, he settles accounts with his servants. The first 2 come forward and show what they've done with what they were given, and both receive the same response from their master. "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things." But the servant who hid what he was given explains that he acted out of fear, and Scripture tells us that the master calls him wicked and lazy. And the little he had was taken from him and given to the one who had been faithful. There are a few important things to notice about this story. First, God gives different amounts to different people. He entrusts more to some and less to others, but that's not the point of the parable. The point is that each servant is responsible for what they've been given. Both the servant who was given 5 bags of gold and the one who was given 2 received the same exact response. "Well done, good and faithful servant." Their reward wasn't based on how much they produced in the end. It was based on what they did with what they were entrusted. And another important truth here is that every one of us has been given at least 1 bag of gold. God doesn't measure faithfulness by how much you were given. He measures it by what you did with what you have. So that raises an important question. What has God entrusted to you? What might He be asking you to steward faithfully? Your time? Absolutely. It's one of the most universal and most finite gifts we've been given. Scripture consistently calls us to use our time wisely. Your relationships? Yes, there's not one person in your life by accident. God calls us to be a blessing and a light to nurture, protect, forgive, and invest in the people He's placed around us. Your children, if you're a parent, without question, you've been entrusted with their care, their guidance, and their formation, and called to love and nurture them wisely. Your talents and interests? Absolutely. The abilities and interests God has given you aren't accidental. We're meant to develop them, use them, and make something meaningful out of what He's placed in our hands. Your finances? Yes. God has opened doors and given opportunities to earn, manage, and steward resources. We're called to manage them faithfully. Your mind and your thought life. Yes, what we consistently think about shapes how we live, how we respond, and who we're becoming. And of course, you probably know where I'm going with this. Your physical body. Your body was given to you. It was bought at a price. And the way you care for it impacts so much of how you show up in life. It affects the energy you bring to your daily tasks, the steadiness of your mood in your relationships, your clarity of thought, the way you feel, and even the number and quality of the days that you have to serve others. So, how might caring for your body actually be an investment in your walk with God and your life as a Christian? Let's think about it in really practical terms. When you have more energy, when your body's well nourished, rested, and cared for, You simply have more capacity to respond instead of react, more capacity to be present, more capacity to choose patience, kindness, and gentleness in moments that might otherwise feel overwhelming. Think about a normal, frustrating moment, one that you've probably experienced many times. A child pushing limits, a tense conversation with your spouse, a long day when you're already worn down. Are you more likely to respond with patience and self-control when you're exhausted, not properly nourished, or running on fumes, or when you're well-rested, well-fed, and steady? Most of us know the answer. Stable energy makes it easier to live out love. Clarity of mind makes it easier to choose peace. Feeling physically well makes it easier to be gentle and joyful. And over time, something else begins to happen. When you practice self-discipline in one area of your life, like being intentional with what and how you eat, or sticking with a workout routine when it would be easier to skip, you begin strengthening the same muscle that helps you exercise self-control in other areas of your life. Your words, your actions, your choices. It's not perfectly, not instantly, but gradually. Caring for your body doesn't create the fruit of self-discipline, but it can support your ability to live it out, to nurture it, and to strengthen it day by day. This isn't about vanity. It's not about pride. It isn't about size or a number on the scale. It's about stewardship. Let's remember, when we talk about stewardship, we aren't picking and choosing which gifts matter or which ones we want to steward. We're called to be faithful with all that God entrusts to us. It's us saying to God, I want to care for and nurture the relationships you've placed in my life. I want to use the gifts, talents, and abilities you've given me wisely. I want to steward the time you've entrusted to me with discernment and intention. And yes, it also includes our bodies. I want to care for my body, my temple, my health, recognizing that it too is something you've entrusted to me. I want to approach each day with all that I have, to show up with energy, clarity, and steadiness. Far be it from me, God, to shorten my days or limit my service through neglect or unwise choices. I want to steward my health so that 10, 20, or 30 years from now, I'm ready and capable to step into whatever assignment you placed in front of me. And this is a good place to pause and address a common and very limiting belief: the idea that fitness is just vanity. For some people, this belief becomes more than a question. Isn't fitness just about vanity? It becomes a stumbling block. It keeps them stuck in comfort zones. And over time, it can greatly hinder growth in both character and stewardship. Maybe you've asked this question yourself. And maybe without even realizing it, you've allowed it to hold you back from making changes that you know would be wise for your health. And before we can answer the question, isn't fitness just vanity? We need to be really clear about something foundational. Vanity is a heart issue. It's not a fitness issue. It's not a body size issue. And it's not a performance issue. Being fit does not make someone vain, and being unfit does not automatically make someone humble. You could have a strong, healthy body and be deeply humble. And you could neglect your health entirely and still be very vain, because appearance doesn't create vanity. Vanity begins in the heart. Vanity is an inward focus on self. It's a desire to be admired, validated, or elevated, whether through your appearance or your achievements or just being seen in a certain way. Vanity is when your sense of worth becomes tied to how you're perceived, to how you compare, to what others think of you. Vanity is when you look to approval, admiration, or being seen in a certain way for your sense of worth. And vanity doesn't come from one specific thing. It can be tied to many different things. For some, it might be fitness or appearance. For others, success or achievement. For others, status, discipline, or being seen as impressive or put together. The pursuit of any of these things doesn't create vanity. Vanity begins when they become the place we go to establish our worth. That's why vanity isn't tied to one behavior, one outcome, or one area of life. It's tied to where we're looking for our worth. And that's why focusing on fitness isn't a vanity issue. Vanity isn't caused by fitness. It's caused by a motivation of the heart that looks to something other than God for validation and worth. Scripture does not call us to be mediocre. It calls us to faithfulness, diligence, and excellence with the right motive. Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord." That verse doesn't say to do less. It says do it wholeheartedly, but for the Lord, not for approval. Proverbs 22:29 says, "Do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings." Skill, discipline, effort. These aren't condemned in Scripture, they're affirmed. And 1 Corinthians 10:31 reminds us, "So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God." Notice what that means. It doesn't say don't care. It says care rightly. We are called to pursue excellence, but always with humility. This is where humility helps us keep everything rightly ordered. Humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. A humble person can pursue excellence, aim for big goals, steward their body with intention, and do it all for God's glory. And this brings us back to the parable of the talents. Jesus reminds us that every one of us has been entrusted with at least one bag of gold. And when you look inside that bag, you'll find very real, very personal gifts. Your time, your relationships, your children if you're a parent, your talents, interests, and abilities, and yes, your physical body, all of it entrusted to you. Now fast forward to the day when you stand before the Lord face to face, and think again about how Jesus tells this story in the parable. The master wasn't looking for perfection. He was looking for stewardship. He didn't say, "You did everything perfectly," or "Great job, no mistakes." What he said was, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Not perfect, good, faithful. Faithful with what you are given. Faithful with the energy you bring into your relationships. Faithful with the time you are entrusted. Faithful with the body that carries you through the work that He has called you to do. So today, don't aim for perfect. Aim for good. Aim for faithful. Take what God has given you, lean into His strength, and steward it well. One day at a time, one faithful step at a time. Thanks for spending this time with me. To learn more, visit soulstrengthfit.com.